Hi, my name is Alexandra Vera, and I'm going to be presenting the cognitive load theory. First, we will start with the history. The cognitive load theory was created by John Sweller in the 1980s. John Sweller is an Australian psychologist who has authored over 80 publications about cognitive research, and he currently still serves as a professor of the University of South Wales. The cognitive load theory was originated from the work of G.A. Miller, in the 1950s, who was the first to research working memory capacity. And he was actually the first to discover that humans are able to hold 7 plus or minus 2 units in short-term memory. Sweller studied learners while solving problems and realized that humans normally use means-ends analysis when problem solving, and that this activity requires a relatively large amount of cognitive processing capacity. So Sweller then proceeded to create the cognitive load theory and suggest alternate ways of teaching. Some important definitions to understand the theory. The cognitive load, it refers to the amount of information a working memory can hold at one time. Then working memory is a type of short-term memory that stores information during completion of cognitive tasks, such as problem solving, comprehension, reasoning, and learning. And then long-term memory uses structures called schemas, which organize information based on how we use it. And the more that we use these schemas, the more developed they become and the easier it is to recall information. The theory bases off of 3 assumptions: that the working memory is limited, the long-term memory is unlimited or infinite, and that the brain uses structures called schemas to reduce working memory at one time and transfer information, but when presented with more information in the feedback than the working memory can transfer, that's when cognitive overload happens. The theory supports the model of human cognition, where sensory memory filters out most of what is going on around us, and then passing selected information to our working memory, which is the one that can process 5 to 9 chunks of information at a time, and it selects whether those chunks move to long-term memory, creating schemas, or then are discarded. Then the cognitive load theory supports the idea of modeling instruction in a way where learners are not overwhelmed with information, providing learners with the amount of material they can process into schemas for long-term memory. Basically, it shows us that there's no point in teaching extra information that the learner will not be able to store, and that's why it supports the idea that learners can focus and learn more with simple designs that are easy to understand. Also, that with complex designs, learners will focus more on the design than the actual material. And then teachers should take the time of minimizing complex material into simple steps that accomplish a goal. The types of cognitive load, as defined by Keller in his theory, are the intrinsic load, which is based on the actual difficulty of the task for the learner, normally occurs because of the lack of prior knowledge from the material that they are learning. And Sweller believes that it can only be reduced by altering the nature of the learning material. Basically, the only way to reduce this load is to teach less material or divide the material or a complex subject into multiple lessons. Then the extraneous load is related to the way the learning material is presented. So outside factors like loud music, noise, and other types of distractions are considered obstacles that prevent learners from processing the material. And then the germane load, it's the effort needed by memory and intelligence to move information into schemas, so how we process complex information into memory. When we use tools that help simplifying information like diagrams or presentations and lists, we are reducing the germane load to promote the creation of schemas. And then cognitive overload occurs when intrinsic load, extraneous load, and germane load exceed the brain capacity of the learner. And even the most intelligent learners has a capacity to process new information. That's what the cognitive load theory teaches us. So cognitive load theory for designing instructions. Basically, it's recommended to ask questions and test learners to measure prior knowledge and ensure you're teaching at the appropriate level so that learners are not overwhelmed. Have clear objectives and goals. Ensure your material is focused only on those learning goals to not overwhelm your learners. Measure the amount of time you will take to teach each lesson to ensure not to overload learners with long lessons. Eliminate extraneous distractions like devices, cell phones, and noises that might distract the learner. And break down material into pieces of information to ensure the learner focuses on one piece at a time. So the works cited page shows the resources that I used. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.